Welcome to the Professional Women's Wellness Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Peggy Gleason, creator of the Mindful Eating Approach, where I help professional women and business owners with a tailored path to weight loss and self-confidence without the stress of restrictive diets, time-consuming exercise regimes, or medications. I help you transform your eating habits to enhance all areas of your wellness, and we always offer inspiration, motivation, and education with amazing gifts. Welcome back to our podcast, Professional Women's Wellness. I am so honored to have our wonderful guest with us today, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. Dr. Mort Orman is an internal medicine physician and a 40-year anger elimination and stress elimination expert. He has written 23 books on how to eliminate anger and stress without using drugs, relaxation exercises, or other traditional management techniques. He's the creator of a 10-session Anger No More anger elimination program, the Anger Internal Causes Framework, and the Ultimate Anger Elimination System. Boy, he has a lot going on. Dr. Orman has led more than 100 anger and stress elimination workshops for doctors, nurses, lawyers, business owners, and entrepreneurs and other listen to this, and other clergy and other professionals like the clergy, the FBI. Oh my goodness, you have a lot to do. He's also been the official sponsor of the National Stress Awareness Month in the United States every April since 1992. His newest book is Dr. Orman's Life-Changing Anger Cure. Eliminate unwanted anger without anger management so you can be happier, healthier, and don't end up alone. Welcome, Dr. Mort Orman.
Well, thank you, Dr. Peggy, for having me and having me talk to your audience.
Oh, I'm so excited because, anger is such a big thing right now, right? It's like, it's all over. Don't turn on your TV because you might get angry.
You will get it. You will get angry.
You will get
It's designed to make you angry.
I think you're right. So I wanted to know, you were a physician, and I wanted to know a little bit about whether you did have a transformation from being an internal medicine physician to how was that done? Your transition?
So I when I went through my medical training, I started to develop a lot of anger. I didn't have anger when I was a kid. My parents didn't have a lot of anger. I didn't grow up in an angry family. But once I got into college and medical school and medical training, I started to get angry at myself a lot. And then I started to spill over and get angry at other people. And so I had this big anger problem that I really couldn't handle. I couldn't stop it, couldn't control it. I took up tennis in my late 20s, and I was literally like John McEnroe on the tennis court, not tennis skill wise, but in terms of yelling at myself and screaming at myself and disturbing the people around me. And it was I just had this emotional disruptions that were going on in my life, and I couldn't control them, and they affected all of my relationships. Failed eventually partly because of it. I would have anger issues with my parents and my sister, and even with my patients. When I went into practice, my patients didn't follow my advice, or they did, silly things, made bad decisions. I would sometimes get angry. So I had this anger problem, long and short. And I tried all the standard stuff, and it didn't help. Every day I still woke up and I was the same angry person. It didn't stop. Which is interesting because my birthday is February 2nd, which is Groundhog's Day. It was literally like Groundhog's Day.
Oh my gosh.
So, but I kept trying. And then the other thing is, when you're taking care of patients, as you know, you can easily tell the angry people from the not so angry people. And you see what happens over time.
Oh, yeah.
and you see what happens health-wise to them, and they tend to get more heart attacks and strokes and high blood pressure and other kinds of nasty illnesses. And then they come in and they tell you they're getting divorced, or the kids won't talk to them anymore, or their business partnership blew up, or or they're addicted to something now, because of their emotions. So you're seeing all of this train wreck, associated with anger, and you're sitting there with your own anger, which of course you kind of don't want to let people in on that you're suffering with this stuff. And I also had a lot of anxiety and all kinds of other things too. But so mainly because I was driven by seeing what happens to people and not wanting to end up, like many of my angry patients ended up. So that drove me into personal development work early in my career. A lot of doctors and other busy professionals, they don't make the time to do that because they're so busy with everything else. But I thought it was a priority to learn some stuff that I wasn't taught in medical school. And I did. And I started to put together stuff from different disciplines, eventually put together a system for understanding and dealing with my anger that shocked the hell out of me how well it worked. And it finally gave me the ability to get control of my anger and to understand where it was really coming from within me so that I could do something about it finally. And that's what I did. And so that was the transition that I had, the breakthrough that I had, was discovering the internal causes of my anger that I had never seen before, that it had been there all along. I just it was never taught to me. Nobody ever took me aside and said, hey, here's why people get angry. I had to sort of figure it out on my own. And I was fortunate to have studied with a lot of really intelligent people, kind of forward thinking, pioneering type, thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I finally figured it out. And then then the game changed. And then now I'm in control of my anger instead of the anger being in control of me. And then once I saw that I could do that and perfected it in myself, again, being a doctor, I said, this is important for people's health. Just as important as eating properly is to people's health. Managing your emotions or dealing with your emotions well is really critical to people's health. And I've got this thing now that can really help people get a handle on their anger plus other emotions, because once they understand their anger, it kind of opens the door to all the other emotions, because they all behave sort of in the same way. They get created in a similar fashion. So once you understand one of them really deeply and really well, you can go move on to the other ones more easily. So for me, it's really about helping people gain real emotional intelligence, not the kind that's currently being talked about that is more theoretical.
Yes, I understand.
They can spout off a lot of stuff about emotions, but the question is, can you help somebody go from being an angry person to not being an angry person? To me, that's emotional intelligence.
Yes,
can you control your own anger anytime you want so it doesn't cause problems in your life? That's emotional intelligence. Same thing with fear, or same thing with worry, or any other, emotion that can tend to cause problems in people's lives. Do you understand its roots within yourself, its causes, and do you understand how to get a handle on those causes so you can ratchet down the emotion anytime it pops up, or you can just prevent it a lot of the times because you've trained yourself to see the world differently and understand yourself differently, and now you're not getting triggered by things that used to trigger you. So that's what I like teaching people how to do. And to me, it's really preventive medicine in a big way with the emotional.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm so curious because when we think about people that are angry, we think they're specific things, right? And they have to get over the thing and then they won't be angry, right? That's what most people think. Is that correct?
Well, there's a lot of things that people think that aren't correct.
Right. But I mean, I'm taking it down to an elementary level here.
Yes.
Like, that person today really made me mad, and then they replay the tape over and over and over, and then they're like crazed by the next morning, right?
Yes. But the whole idea that another person made you mad misses half of the story. Because that person did what they did, and it may not have been great what they did, but where anger really gets generated is inside us.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't understand how that happens. And we know it happens because we know we've had experiences where we've been standing side by side with a friend or a family member. We see the same event, and one of us reacts with anger, the other doesn't. So it can't be the external event can't be the whole story.
Absolutely.
There has to be something internal going on that is generating the anger, and we never get taught what that is. Through all my training, my 7 years of medical training, my dabbling in psychology and stuff like that, never got taught how I was generating my anger, which was the critical missing puzzle pieces that I needed to have to be able to take control of my anger. And it's not being taught today. It's really,
No, it's not.
it's amazing. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do is, and one of the reasons I wrote my book was to get that information out there, and hopefully it'll get into school curricula eventually, homeschooling curriculum, coaches and life coaches and health coaches can work with their clients if they have anger issues and use the book as a blueprint and coach them through, helping them understand their anger better. So I mean, there's all kinds of ways where the information that I put out in the book can really be transformative for people, both professionals and their clients, to try to generate a major transformation and make the world a less angry place, which would be really nice, it's possible.
Yeah, I think I love this topic. It's so fascinating to me. Because I love psychology to begin with, but when you're trying to find what's within you that makes you angry or respond to things in an angry way, how do people do that? I mean,
you find somebody like me,
or besides
who can show you how to do it.
Oh, okay, got it.
You don't have to waste like 15 years trying to figure it out on your own.
Oh yeah. Oh, so I have a list of people I got to send to you.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. It's really not that difficult. The first thing to understand is that we, as human beings, we never see the world as it actually is or as it actually happens, because our brains are not designed to do that. There's so much information coming into our brains and our bodies through our senses and everything. There's just too many details. There's too much stuff. The brain has to kind of chunk it down and simplify it and make it manageable so we can understand and deal and make decisions and stuff like that. So the brain's constantly filtering what the reality that's outside of us that's coming in terms of the perception of it. So, you're never seeing the whole story. You're always seeing pieces of the story, that whatever your brain considers important or how your brain filters. We've got thousands and thousands of different filters about different things based on our life experiences. If you get bit by a dog when you're 3 and you're traumatized, you now have a filter. Dogs are dangerous. Dogs are dangerous. So your brain now has this filter, and every time a dog comes into view, it goes, oh, danger, danger. And not everybody has that experience. So a lot of us will have different filters, but there's some that are shared in our society. So the values that we have, what's good and what's bad, that all gets built into filters in how we look at things. So we have all these filters, but anger comes from 3 particular filters, and only 3, right? And when they line up in a certain way, and you see the world through those filters, and you see it in a certain way, then you're going to get angry. And the filters are very simple to understand. The first one is, usually you have to be seeing somebody or something doing something bad or wrong that it shouldn't be doing. So we don't get angry if we think something happening that's wonderful or terrific or fantastic. It's usually some negative view of what's going on. That's the filter that we have. So, for example, if you get angry at your computer one day because it's on the fritz and it's not working,
have you been in my house? I think you've seen me.
part of that anger comes from the damn computer is malfunctioning. It's not doing what it should be doing. So that's the first filter. The second filter is the wrongdoing is causing some kind of negative impact. Somebody's hurt or harmed or inconvenienced or disappointed or betrayed or whatever. Okay. So there's some negative consequence of the bad behavior. So in the computer example, my computer's not working. I'm now negatively impacted. I can't get my work done. I might lose the work that I just spent several hours doing. I'm I'm pissed at my computer.
Exactly.
Okay. And then the third one is that whoever's doing the wrongdoing or whatever's doing the wrongdoing is unilaterally responsible to blame. So we have this blame filter that's like we have these big horse blinders on. And the only blame that we see is the person who did what we think is the bad and wrong thing. Okay. We don't see any other causes
Wow.
in their life or where we may have played a role. We don't see any of that. We just see this person did X or Y or Z, and they're to blame. They did something bad. They hurt or harmed somebody or me or somebody else. And those are the three filters. Somebody did something bad and wrong. When I say somebody, I mean somebody or something. Did something they shouldn't have done. There was a negative consequence on somebody, either us or somebody we care about or imagine. It could be the planet. You see somebody throw trash out their window, driving down the road. You get angry. They did something bad and wrong they shouldn't have done. Somebody was hurt and harmed. The environment was polluted. Your nice, clean environment is not as clean anymore. And who's responsible to blame? The person who threw the thing out the window. Okay. So that's how anger gets created in human beings. And when you see through those filters, which is all automatic, by the way, this is all knee jerk. We're not consciously deciding to have these thoughts. We just get triggered. We see something and we judge it to be bad and wrong. We judge there to be hurt and harm. We judge the person to be to blame. And then the anger just flows from that. Okay. And so the problem is that most people have the wrong model for understanding anger. They have a direct, like you said, somebody made me angry. They have a direct cause effect, one causes two model. Okay. Somebody did something they shouldn't have done. Now I'm angry. A caused B. That what I just talked about introduced an additional cause that's invisible, is there's these filters that the brain has in all of us, and they're invisible, so people don't see them. So people think it's a 1-2 process, and I just showed you it has 3 steps. The trigger, the external trigger, then there's what gets triggered inside us, the filters we don't see, we don't feel them, we can't taste them, we can't know that they're active, but they're there. And then we get the anger. But there's actually another one that comes right after the filters. So there's really 2 invisible causes. It's actually a 4-step process. And the same is true for all other emotions. We think it's a direct 1-2. It's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Okay? And 2 and 3 are invisible. And the third one is well, before I tell you what the third one is, it reminds me of how it was many, many years ago in medicine when we didn't understand infectious diseases.
Oh.
So somebody was sick, and they would get around somebody who was well, and somehow some of the well people would end up getting sick, and we didn't understand how that happened. Okay, and then somebody discovered bacteria and viruses, which are invisible.
Right, yeah.
Okay, and then we went like, oh, now we understand the process. The sick person spreads this bacteria or viruses, which are invisible, and then the well person catches it, and then they get sick. Okay, so now we think it's 2 obvious steps and one invisible step. And then years later, somebody discovered the immune system.
Oh boy.
So they go, wait a minute, it's more complicated. And that's invisible too, okay? So we've got this immune system, and the viruses and the bacteria come into our body, but sometimes, they get negated right away by the immune system. Sometimes they get knocked down so that they're not as infectious and they don't cause as much trouble. And then sometimes they get through for one reason or another, and the immune system doesn't stop them. But so the real mechanism is a 4-step process. Sick person, bacteria or virus or any infectious agent. Immune system interacts with that, and then you either get sick or you don't get sick as the final outcome. 2 of the steps are invisible.
Yeah.
Same way with anger. External event that irritates you, bothers you, upsets you, step 1. Step 2, you filtered it, your brain filtered it through these 3 filters. Somebody did something bad and wrong they should have done. Somebody was hurt and harmed. Somebody's unilaterally blamed. Then the second invisible step, or the third step in the process, in addition to filtering the reality of what's going on, your brain tells you there's no filtering going on. Okay, this is the truth. This is the whole truth. There's nothing missing. I didn't filter anything.
Okay.
It stamps it as true. It tells you it's true.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
And if you believe those three things are true, those three filters, if you believe they're true, you're going to get the emotion that goes with that, which in this case is anger. Now, if you have anxiety, you've got three different filters. But if you believe those are true, you're going to start feeling anxious. Okay. And the chemicals and the hormones that cause the feeling of anxiety will start flowing when you believe that what your brain is presenting to you in terms of the filters that cause anxiety are real and true. Okay. So it's got that I call it the stamp of truth that we don't see, but it's going on. Okay. And then you want to know something, it's even worse, because what you'll find out when you start to understand this is that the filters are often faulty. They leave things out, that you miss things, you may have misperceived something, there may be missing pieces of information you don't have, but you don't know that they're missing. Because so the filters frequently have holes in them or gaps in them or blind spots or stuff like that. But our brain is telling us, don't think about any of that. Don't worry about that. It's all pure truth. Just take our word for it. It's literally like the media. It's like we have our own media outlet in our brain, and it's generating narratives all day long, and it's telling us, believe these narratives. We're telling you the truth. We wouldn't lie to you. This is what it is. And of course, they're always leaving out. They're always spinning it and leaving stuff. Our brain's doing the same thing. It's playing a trick on us, making us think that what's coming true. But what's interesting is with anger. So our anger is frequently caused by faulty filters.
Okay.
Right? So we're making mistakes. We don't know it, but the mistakes are causing us to get angry. But then the anger makes us feel right. It actually circles back and reinforces the quote truthfulness of whatever is causing our anger, which often isn't true. So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah, that's right. Wow.
Yeah. So and people, if they have a strong feeling of anger, they often feel justified. They feel like, well, I should be angry because the way I'm looking at things is absolutely true. And if it's true, then I have a right to be angry. I should be angry. Anybody would be angry if that was true. That may be the case, but a lot of times what we think is true is not true until we start digging around in there. And at least now we know, and actually everybody listening to this should write those three filters down on a piece of paper, on a sticky note, on an index card, put it in your cell phone, tattoo it on your arm, do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
Somebody did something bad, wrong, they shouldn't have done. Somebody was hurt or harmed, negatively impacted, and that person was unilaterally responsible or to blame. That's where anger comes from. And it's where all anger comes from. It doesn't matter of the hundreds of thousands of different situations that can make a human being angry. They all eventually boil down to somebody did something they shouldn't have done, somebody was hurt and harmed, negatively impacted, somebody was unilaterally to blame. They all filter down to those three filters, and then you get angry. So from this point on, no one should ever be confused. If they write those three things down. Anytime they get angry, just pull that out and go, okay, this is how I must be thinking. And sure enough, you'll see that you are, if you're angry.
Wow. I just realized how many angry people I know. They always blame everybody else. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. And that's why blame is such an important part of anger, because it's one of the three primary filters. And it's a very narrow view of blame. It's really untruthful most of the time, because it's rarely the case that a person is 100% responsible and nothing else is involved, particularly if you're in a relationship. And we get a lot of anger in relationships. And when we get angry, our brain is telling us that the other person who we're angry at is 100% to blame, and we're 0% to blame.
Yeah.
In a relationship, it's never 100-0. Ever.
No.
It may be 90-10, it may be 80-20, it may be 50-50. It's never 100-0.
No. I have to agree with that.
In some way or another, you're contributing. You may not, in some cases, you may be causing the behavior you don't like, but you may be contributing to it. You may not have done what's needed to stop it. There's some ways in which, multiple ways in which you could be influencing what's happening that we don't tend to focus on. We're much more focused on the bad and awful thing that the person's doing, that we're seeing, that we think is, totally their fault. And it turns out a lot of times it's not totally their fault, and this is where you have to kind of dig in and kind of analyze what's really true from what your brain is telling you is true.
Yeah,
And
that perspective thing.
Yeah, that's the secret sauce.
I was gonna say. Wow, this is fascinating. Wow. I love
So
that.
what I didn't when I had my transformation and I understood this stuff and I started working with my own anger examples, which I had a lot of to work on. So
Hard to believe. For me, it's hard to believe. I only
yeah.
know you as this
Yeah,
person
no,
you
I used to be a really angry, volatile kind of guy. But so I
so a
worked through a
doctor
lot.
that I wouldn't have liked working with, right?
No, actually, I had a lot of respect for nurses, so I never got. There's some doctors that get angry at nurses at the drop of it. Like really egomaniacs, and they walk around very conceited and like they're gods, and anybody that disobeys them or criticizes them or challenges them, you have to bark at them and put them in their place, all that kind of stuff. I was never like that. I always had a deep appreciation for nurses and respected
No,
nurses.
and that's wonderful.
Yeah,
But I have seen doctors get really mad in the
oh,
OR, and like sort of things were flying.
absolutely.
And
I have too.
it's just like, oh, kind of scary.
But what I didn't realize that I realize now, and I realized 40 years ago, is that almost every time I was angry about something, one or more of my filters was wrong,
Okay.
or I had some kind of a bad philosophy, which this is another kind of bad filter, where I had bad philosophy in life. So, for example, if you believe life should always be fair, you should always be treated fairly, and you're going to get pissed off a lot because it's not going to end up that way, and you're going to think something's wrong. But the world isn't functioning the way it should function. But actually, nobody promised you that life would be fair. The world doesn't work that way. But if you have that philosophy that it should, then whenever that you run into that, you're going to get angry because you're going to say something's not functioning the way it should.
That's
And
amazing.
the world is to blame, or the people who are doing the bad things are to blame, or whatever. So it's either a bad philosophy or it's just something's missing or something's wrong, or you made a judgment that isn't really valid. And we do that all the time.
And you have, I know you've had so many books, but if there's the one book you would recommend people read, what book would that be?
I think it's I think this is one of my best books. And the thing about this book is it says
Is this your latest one?
This is my latest one, Dr. Orman's Life-Changing Anger Cure. It's on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and put in Life-Changing Anger Cure. It'll pop right up.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But the thing about this book, it says life-changing, and it is life-changing if you read
well,
it.
you did it. You learned that yourself.
Yeah, but it could be world-changing if enough people grasp where their anger is coming from. Because what we're seeing today, the explosion of anger, uncontrollable anger and rage and division, hostility and violence and all the crap that we're seeing is really coming from the fact people don't have the proper understanding of how anger gets generated inside them and how they're actually participating in the development of it, and how it's coming from filters that they think are true that probably aren't. And they're so caught up in their anger that they don't bother. At first, they didn't even know to question it. But if they ever started questioning it and examining it, they would find out that their thoughts and their opinions and their perceptions are not always as accurate as they think and feel that they are. Yeah. So another thing in our society, we've kind of developed this cult of feelings, where if you have a strong feeling, it means you must be onto the truth about something. And it's actually backwards. A lot of times our strongest feelings come from being disconnected from the truth and not knowing it.
Wow. Oh, wow. This is so good. Oh, my gosh. These listeners are going to be loving this. Oh, my gosh.
For example, I love watching The Bachelor or The Bachelorette because it's such a train wreck. It's a train wreck in a lot of ways. The individuals who are on it, usually are train wrecks. But the whole, from the production standpoint, the whole thing is centered around feelings. Do do I have the right feelings? I need to find somebody that I have the right feelings for, so that we can go off and get married and have a great life together. And do I have the right feelings for you? Do I not have the right feeling? It's this whole cult of feelings that trickles
Okay.
down into the show, but it's all throughout society. And it's reinforcing these horrible messages about how you should go about, creating relationships with people and assessing partners, as being good partners and not good partners. And the feeling thing is not a good is not a good test.
I don't think so.
There are a lot of other character, type things that are more
Yeah.
important.
Oh, I really love you, even though you just got out of jail for, robbing 10 banks. No,
Well, the other thing is, like, you get married because you have these wonderful positive feelings for each other.
yes,
And it's
yes.
like the feelings are going to make your relationship successful. That ain't how it works.
No, it's not.
It may
It
be the
is
feelings
not.
may have gotten you into the relationship, but you better have some relationship skills if you're going to be successful long term, that have nothing
Right,
to do with feelings, other
right.
than under the understanding, where feelings can be mislead you sometimes, but and how to interact with other people's feelings, and which is just getting their feelings, but sometimes it's also realizing their feelings may not be based in truth. But anyhow, but the point is that we have another mindset problem where we think, oh, if I find somebody I have good feelings for, then that'll guarantee the success of our long-term relationship.
Oh,
And
well,
people don't realize that's a bad strategy.
it is a bad strategy for
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, because their
Oh,
feelings are going to go up and down and all over the place, and
of course,
sometimes,
that honeymoon phase, right? They think
yes,
it's going to be a forever phase.
yes, it's not.
No, 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 it's not.
Yeah.
But it gets better if you develop those relationships.
Yes,
Then you
and
have,
the skills to deal with the ups and downs, and
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's
so
so different. But this has been so eye-opening and wonderful. And I know everybody listening to this is going to run to get that book. Um, so what did you have anything you wanted to offer the listeners?
I have a handout that might be useful to them.
Oh,
It's called, and it talks about my 10-session anger elimination program,
okay.
which you don't really have to go through anymore since I wrote the book, because I put everything that I taught in that program
That's
into
great.
into the book. If people want additional support from me, they can arrange that. But I wrote the book so that it's like a complete blueprint that you can take it and really understand anger and understand what to
Oh,
do
this
about it,
is so
and take the
nice.
ball and run with it, and see that you can have some success. So yeah, so I have the handout. It's called The Best Anger Elimination Method You Can Find, which is what we're talking about.
This is good.
And you can get it by going to theangersolution.org.
Okay.
That
And
URL.
we'll have all of those links in the show notes. So we'll make sure everybody has access to that. And I know myself, I'll be promoting your book like crazy because I love this topic and you explained it in such an easy to it was easy listening to the way you
It,
explained it
it's actually
because
not.
not
It's not.
anybody ever explained it that way.
It's not complicated. It's just invisible.
No, it's just, yeah, like you said, we didn't learn that in school,
Yeah,
in whatever discipline of healthcare. No
yeah,
one learns it.
yeah.
I think it's just delightful. Thank you
And it's
so
funny, you opened up by asking me how I went from being a doctor to getting in this stuff. And it's funny, I realized, and it was only like a year ago. So I'm an internal medicine doctor. Okay.
Yes.
And what I realized is I went to school for 7 years to learn how to understand the invisible things that happen in people's bodies when they get sick that they
Hmm.
can't see. And we can develop sort of like this ability to envision what's happening inside, in different organs and different body systems and processes down to the cellular level. We're trained to kind of make the invisible visible,
Hmm.
and that's our value in society as doctors, because we
Yes.
can we can do that. Of course, we have other things like X-rays and CAT scans and MRIs to make things visible, blood tests to make things visible. But that's basically what we're doing. We're
Yeah.
we're we're making what's going on in the body that's invisible to most people visible, so that we can understand it and deal with it. And then I realized that's the exact same thing I'm doing with this anger work and other emotions work. I'm
Yes.
making helping people understand invisible processes that are generating their emotions that they've never been taught. And when they see it, then now they've got power that they didn't have before.
Oh, this is so cool. This is so, so delightful. Well, I cannot thank you enough.
And just imagine if on top of it, they ate better.
And yeah, well, yeah, then that's where I come
then we'd have superhumans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, just toss them to me when they start talking about their eating.
We can outdo the robots with these two.
I think so. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. I so appreciate your time. And I know that everybody's going to be really thrilled listening to your wisdom. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Professional Women's Wellness Podcast. If you would like to attend training sessions by our amazing podcast guests and have a chance to connect, join the Professional Women's Wellness newsletter. For more details and to sign up, scan the QR code or click the link in the description. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast. Each week, we will select a reviewer who will receive free access to my $197 course, Goodbye Night Bites, a 30-day journey to stop emotional eating at night. Please subscribe to get notifications of future episodes.